This Sunday is the annual Xbox Game Showcase where new games will be revealed and news on already released and still being developed games will also be announced. One of the games that was shown in some of the advertising for the event was Grounded. You may recall that the first look at the Bug Strike Back update was shown at PAX East a few weeks ago. I believe it's highly unlikely that the same gameplay will be shown or discussed at the Xbox event since Obsidian is an Xbox game studio. I think it's more likely there will be new gameplay shown and perhaps even more, and in this video I'm going to discuss everything I think we will see this Sunday. Before we begin, I want to thank King Bling Blah Gaming, Matthew Campbell, Stephen Van, and all my other channel members for helping make videos like this possible. You can become a channel member today for as little as $2 by clicking the join button below or the link in the description. Thanks again to all my channel members. Let's get started. So just to quickly recap some of the things that were talked about during the PAX East livestream, basically the developers showed off some new features such as the armor upgrades, which of course use the different leather plates. They also showed off some of the new building stations like the turrets. So we have the pollen turret, the pebblet turret, the explosive bird trap, and the waft emitter. Basically what they showed off was the fact that it was called the Bug Strike Back because we were going to have to defend ourselves against the bugs. So there's faction raids, there's the waft raids, and basically that was the gist of it. They also, what they didn't show, and I don't believe they showed this, was the updated part of the yard up here. So as you can see off in the distance, the upper yard has some cosmetic stuff done to it. So basically the terrain up here, for a good chunk of it, has been updated. You'll also notice that the wall back here, which used to just be a solid concrete wall or a blank wall, is now a brick wall. So a lot of the work has been done under there. If you go over by the shed and stand in certain positions, there's different music playing that's leading people to believe that there's going to be something under the shed, like an area we can go to under there. So all those things have been worked on. And honestly, if you've watched some of the previous trailers, actually, if you watched, I believe if you watched during that live stream, they were actually in a dev mode world. There was stuff up in the upper yard here and as well as over here in the upper pond area that is not currently in the world. So it looks like most of the world is probably either complete or mostly complete. So they've basically done it and they're just dishing it out in small chunks. So for that reason, I don't think they're going to come back and during the Xbox showcase, which is, like I said, they're an Xbox game studio. I don't think it makes sense for them to just recycle the content that they showed at PAX East, because why would they do that? If that was going to be the case, they might as well have just not even appear at the Xbox showcase. I think that they're going to actually give bigger news. And while there's no confirmation on this, I have watched some videos that have been leaking some information about what may or may not be shown at the Xbox Game Showcase. One thing was that it is expected that Avowed, which is one of the bigger AAA games that Obsidian, the developers of Grounded, are working on, will have a big announcement. And along with that, I also heard mention that they think there might be 1.0 announcement at the Xbox Game Showcase. So while there is no confirmation, there has been some credible sources that have leaked information that have said there is a chance that full 1.0 release date will be released or will be mentioned. It will not, I don't believe it's going to be, I don't think the game's going to full release this week. That's definitely not going to happen. But I think there is a very good chance that we will get the full release date. Now, when that will be, I'm not exactly sure. My best guess would be one of two dates. One would be perhaps the end of July. So July 28th was the initial release date of Grounded back in 2020. That's when it entered early access on Steam, game preview on Xbox and Windows. So perhaps they want to do full release around the 2-year anniversary. Another guess would be sometime in the fall. So typically Microsoft likes to release their big games around November timeframe. That's when the original Xbox came out. I believe the last Xbox may have came out around the same time. That's when big games come out. They have had there's quite a few games that were expected to be released this year that have since been delayed to 2023, specifically Starfield and I think, what was it, Redfall or something like that. Starfield, I believe, was supposed to come out on 11/11. So there's a chance that they might want to fill that gap. And while Grounded is not even going to be it's not even going to be on the level of Starfield in terms of probably popularity from the overall gaming fan base, it would still fit. It could possibly fill that void there where there's going to be less games releasing in the fall than we're expected. So perhaps it's going to be then. I really don't expect it to be in July, although if it is in July, I'll be super excited because obviously that's right around the corner. If it's not going to be releasing in July, I think they may show off some other stuff that they haven't showed off yet, and maybe showing that for the next update. So at the very least, maybe they're going to tell us how many updates there will be between now and full release. If they say full release is and they give us a set date, it'll probably be pretty easy for us to determine how many public test servers there will be between now and then, because they've typically done one like every 3 months. So for me, my best guess would say the game's probably going to full release sometime in the fall. and I would expect there to be a public test server probably around the end of July, which would be around the 2-year anniversary. It would also fit the 3-month time frame, so that would be a public test server then, and then probably full release after that. With, of course, I believe they're going to do a public test server before 1.0. I can't imagine they would just dump everything out and not have a public test server, since they've done a public test server for everything. So aside from that, what else might they release? Might they talk about in the next at the Xbox Game Showcase? I want to hop over to the feature board real quick, because it's changed quite a bit since the last time I had been looking at it. So let's hop on over there real quick and take a look at what's left on the feature board and what's changed since the last time I looked at it. So this is the feature board over on the Grounded with Obsidian website. So I think it's grounded.obsidian.net is the address. So this is where they show all the things that have been added. Updates, of course, it has all the previous updates on here, but for some reason it does not have the stuff updated in the Bug Strike Back update. This says coming soon, but all these things have been added to the game as of right now. So this just hasn't been updated. But you will notice that down here, the plan and feature for the future section, if you've been checking this on a regular basis, this used to have a lot more items on it. Obviously, some of them have come off in the last couple of updates, but there's just not much left on here to be worked on. And for me, what I'm thinking is that the plan stuff is probably guaranteed to come in. I'm assuming this is planned to be in 1.0. The stuff for the future, I'm guessing some of this is probably going to they're going to try to get into 1.0, but perhaps some of it might not get into 1.0, so it might come in after 1.0 with future updates, or perhaps it might just get cut, because there have been things that have been added and deleted from this over time. So under the plan right now, of course, we know the story. The story is, in my opinion, I mean, it's while they're saying the story is like it's not in the game yet, or it's not, like, I don't know what they consider what's in the game right now. Like the labs, to me, doing all the lab stuff is the story. So to me, we only need 2 more pieces for the beginning cocktail, which for some reason the recipe for that was added in this last update, but we can only get 3/5 of it. So that means there's 2 more parts for it. Now, unless they add one retroactively back to a previous lab, that means there's going to be 2 more that we have to get. Perhaps we have to get them from one more lab, and then maybe the final boss, if there's a final boss, whatever that might be. Maybe it's Dr. Tully. Then, of course, we have new bosses here. The new bosses, which is one that's no longer showing up on here. I don't believe I see it, as the Ant Queen. So it was on here for the longest time, was an Ant Queen, expected to be a boss. There's also been speculation that perhaps there could be a Mantis boss as well as a Black Widow boss. Now, we don't know if any of these new creatures, the Ant Queen would most likely be a boss. I mean, that would be the most logical, because there's a Termite King, so why wouldn't there be an Ant Queen as a boss? Now, whether it's in a new anthill, one of the existing anthills, whether it's a red ant, a black ant, or a different type of ant, we don't know. There's not really been anything mentioned about that. But the other 2, the Black Widows, there were Black Widowlings in the Into the Wood public test server. They were quickly removed. We've never actually seen a Black Widow. There was a Black Widow data card or bug card that you could peep that was in the last public test server that was also removed and is no longer in the game. So we're not sure if the Black Widow is going to be just a regular spider like the Wolf Spider and the Orb Weavers, or if it's going to be another boss like the Broodmother. Also, the Mantis, there's stuff in the game files for that. We don't know if that's going to be a boss or if it's just going to be another creature. There have been other creatures that have been mentioned. One specifically was butterflies. The game director did mention butterflies they're not on here, but they do seem like they're likely to be coming. It would make sense for them to come to be another new passive insect that doesn't really attack us, and we could just possibly maybe get its wings to make a new glider or something along those lines. We have the additional backyard environments. Of course, the upper yard has the area that's got tons of terraforming done to it, but there's nothing over there. The only thing I've ever seen over there was a bee flying over there, and occasionally an aphid will wander in there, but there's no enemies over there. So new environments, perhaps there's going to be new stuff over there. Maybe everybody's been speculating about a cold biome, because we have a hot biome in the sandbox, but we don't have a cold biome. So perhaps something like that, maybe a cooler or something like that will be over there. Not sure. In some of the footage from the developer live streams, from the PAX live stream, as well as from previous trailers, have shown in the upper yard there was pictures of a hedge, possibly a lawnmower, some old tires, some cinder blocks, another pagoda in the pond, maybe some kind of toy castle or something like that. Lots of things that are up there that were shown in videos, but not in the dev worlds, but not actually in here. So if they're in the dev builds, that means that they've already built all the assets for them, which means they're probably done and they just have to like tweak them and maybe move them around a little bit, or maybe make some changes to them to make them fit properly. We have additional weapon types. This would possibly make sense because the weapon that was shown with the Mantis set looked like a scythe, and there are no scythes in the game. Now, do we need more do we need more weapon types? I mean, I guess the game could possibly use them. There's tons of weapons and in the game right now that are really not used. We definitely need, as you can see down here, more tier 3 armor and weapons. I would say we need a tier 3 dagger and a tier 3 spear because the daggers and spears just are not strong enough to compete with the current tier 3 weapons. The pheromone control was actually in, I believe, the Into the Wood public test server, or perhaps the one before. It might have been the one before it. Maybe it was the one before. Maybe it was the Hot and Hazy public test server. There was an ant pheromone, and if you went into creative, you could see it, but if you tried to craft it, it would crash the game. So that has been in the game files for a while. Now, what that's for, it might be related to the Ant Queen. It might be related to something else. We're not sure. Base blueprints, higher tier structures. So they've already added the burr floors. Maybe they're going to add burr walls or something like that. They might add a new building material that is a higher tier than the mushroom walls right now, because right now mushroom walls are going to give you the most defense. Base blueprints, decorations. This, I guess, would just be cosmetic stuff for the for your bases. Additional crafting materials. Of course, whenever they add new biomes, they typically add at least a couple new crafting resources, so that would make sense. And then down here for the future, additional backyard environments. I mean, that's already covered up here, so that's kind of a duplicate. Additional creatures, insects. We already talked about some of those. Weather, in my opinion, will be a massive system in this game that would probably be completely game changing. Although I think it's going to be really difficult to implement weather if it's anything beyond maybe like fog or something like that. Adding like rain or even the sprinklers turning on would probably be a huge undertaking. So whether or not they're going to get that in before 1.0 or if at all, that'll be interesting to see. Backyard change events. We already have some of those, like plugging the haze, finishing the hedge lab. Those have the cutscenes. So I'm imagining there's going to be more cutscenes that will, maybe there'll be a cutscene that after we've plugged the haze, we have to do something that actually cure all the infected insects and get rid of them. Base blueprints, power buildings. And then we have base blueprints, framework for player-generated gameplay. And we did not see, is there actually one up here? Oh, they do have base blueprints defenses. That says they're basically done with that one. So that's interesting. I wonder if they're going to add more traps to the game, because currently the traps we have to defend the bases are kind of underwhelming. We really need more to be able to defend properly if we're going to get properly rated. Insect pet enhancements. That stuff, this was definitely said was going to probably be after 1.0 from what I remember during the dev live streams. Bird improvements, interactions. The first improvement would be having the bird not be invisible, because the bird's currently invisible. Additional crafting stations. I'm not sure what they could possibly add for this. We pretty much have a crafting station for everything, unless they had some completely new system that we're not aware of. And then additional burgle quest types. Not sure what these would be either. I mean, right now we have the go collect the chips. We have kill certain insects. We have craft certain things. I'm not sure what else there could be, unless I don't even know what else this could be. I mean, there definitely needs to be more burgle quests, because right now we don't even have burgle quests for like half the enemies in the game, nor do we have it for all the armor and weapons in the game to craft. So those will be easy ones to do. But aside from that, the only other thing down here is dedicated servers. That's kind of like up in the air. I think their best bet for dedicated servers would be, instead of doing dedicated servers, would be to do something like Minecraft Realms, where you can just have a realm that has like 4 to 8 people in it or something like that, and then people can just play it whenever. And that would be like, just setting up dedicated servers for consoles is going to be a little more complicated, because typically dedicated servers are run on PCs, and it's more of a PC gaming thing. I know there's dedicated servers for some console games that have crossplay and stuff like that, like the Ark and stuff. But aside from that, there's, like I said, there's just not that much left on this board. So I do believe we are coming in the home stretch here. I mean, obviously the game, it's going to be finished this year, and we don't know when it's going to be finished this year, but I'm expecting that at this game showcase on Sunday, June 12th, that we will be getting some type of big announcement regarding Grounded. Hopefully it's the 1.0 release date. I'd really like to know when the 1.0 is going to be, specifically just for my own selfish planning purposes, planning out how I'm going to do my videos between now and then, as well as what I'm going to be doing after that. And of course, I'm sure all of you are anxious to see when that's coming out, because I know from like my recent polling, it seems like as we get further and further along, or closer and closer to the end of the road here, more people seem to be taking a break from the game and just waiting for the full 1.0. And personally, having played through the game a bunch of times at this point, I will say I wish there was a way for me to just completely wipe my memory of the game and start from scratch, because once the game's finished, for those of us that have put hundreds of hours into early access, some people have put thousands of hours into early access, we're just going to be able to blow through the story pretty quickly. There's not going to be much new except whatever is added in 1.0 at the very end. But all the beginning stuff, like the hedge lab, the haze lab, the pond lab, all that stuff, we already know how to do that. And I don't expect them to make major changes to that. So it would be nice to just redo all that for the first time again. But hopefully what they add in 1.0 will be able to make up for that and give us at least 10 to 15 hours of new content that we have not experienced yet. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'll leave a link for the news story. I'll leave a link for the news story for the Xbox Game Showcase, so you can see all the places you can watch it. I'm pretty sure it's streaming on YouTube and Twitch. Not sure where else it might be streaming, but I'll leave links for this down in the description below. Thank you for watching. If you found this video interesting, make sure to click the like button and consider subscribing for more videos just like this. If you want to support the channel even more, click the join card on the screen right now and become a member today. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video.